webinar, get back to us and we'll provide you with the recorded links of those 2 webinars. And again, if you are expecting your fellow professors to join in, please let them know that we have started the webinar, because we can't wait anymore. We are already 10 minutes behind the schedule. So now in the part 1 webinar, just to give you a quick revision, in the part 1 webinar, we had discussed all the question types, the different standard questions and the advanced questions. And we had also discussed a couple of settings like survey authentication and finish options, etc. We had also discussed how to customize your survey and a couple of more settings. And in the part 2 webinar, we had discussed different logic options, for example, branching logic, compound and delayed logic, extraction logic, show hide logic. So we had discussed all these logic options. We had also discussed the send options that we have on this software, which will help you to distribute a survey if you have if you have created a questionnaire or maybe a quiz or an assessment. It will help you, the send options will help you deploy that survey or distribute that survey. Now, in this part 3 webinar, we are going to discuss all the reporting modules that we have on this software, as well as the managed data options. Now, at any point during this webinar, if you have any queries, any questions, please go ahead and write down your questions in the question answer box. Try not writing anything in the chat window, because then the rest of the attendees will not be able to view the questions and answers. Try writing it, mentioning your questions in the question answer box, and we'll be attending and answering all your queries. Also, if your question is a little elaborate or a little detailed, we can definitely unmute you and have a one-on-one conversation with all of you. So please go ahead and raise all your queries. Right, so let's start with signing in. Without wasting any time, we'll quickly start with the webinar. All right, now give me a minute to choose the survey. Yeah, so this is my account, and I hope you can see my screen now. So let me choose the survey. Okay. All right, so we had discussed all these settings before. We have discussed all the edit and send options before. Today we are going to discuss reports. Now in reports, the first report that we have, as you can see, these are the different category of reports. First, we are going to discuss the first category, that is dashboard, participant statistics, and infographic report. Right now we are on the dashboard report. Now dashboard report is the most basic form of report, and it is the real-time summary of the responses that you are collecting over time. Right now, as you can see, the first option is report link. Now, if you're working on a group project and you want to share this particular dashboard report with your colleagues or the fellow professors, you can share this report link with them and they'll be able to access your dashboard and just your dashboard. If you can see right here, you have download data and reports. Now we'll be discussing these. You have these options in manage data as well and dashboard as well. So you can download this particular data that is on your dashboard. You can download it in Excel, CSV, Microsoft Word, Excel with charts, PowerPoint, Adobe PDF, and SPSS as well. So you can download this particular report in all those file formats. Also, if you can see, you can filter the data as well. Now, if you're right now, the dashboard report you're looking at is for all the responses that have been collected, irrespective of if the respondent has completed the survey or not, if they've started or dropped out in the middle. Irrespective of all those factors, the report has been displayed in front of you. But if you want to put a couple of filters, you can do that as well. Right here, you have all these options. You can filter the dashboard data based on a particular question, system variable, geolocation, email list code, device type, language, date, survey status as well. I'll come back to saved groupings, but now first of all, let me give you an example. Now, if you want to filter this data based on survey status, now in survey status, you have 3 options: started, completed, terminated. So started is the number of people who started responding to your survey but dropped out in the middle. Completed, of course, is the number of people who completed the entire survey, and terminated is the number of people who deliberately dropped out in the middle of the survey, who terminated the survey. Right, so if I want this the entire report If I want the report of only the people who completed the survey, I'll click on completed and I can save this filter. You can name the filter completed respondents. You can name it anything. Sorry. Yeah. Now you can save this in a particular filter, and if I scroll down, you'll be able to see that the report you're looking at is only for the people, for the respondents who have completed the entire survey, right? So now I saved this particular filter and I named it completed respondents. Now, if you go to saved groupings, I'll tell you what saved this particular feature does. Saved groupings saves all your filters. Now, if you've applied a filter, if you save it, you'll be able to see that filter in saved groupings. Now, these are the filters that I have applied before on this particular survey. Right now, I used completed respondents. So if you have applied the filter before, if you save it, you need not go through the entire procedure of applying it again. You can simply go on saved groupings, you can select the filter, and you also get a link for that particular filter. So you can share this link with your colleagues or fellow professors as well, if you want to show them what filter you used, and you can simply view at the filtered report. So this was all about filter data. You can filter the data based on question as well. For example, if I choose the first question, do you conduct surveys, and I only want the data of the people who responded to yes, I will apply this filter and I'll get the that particular data, that particular report. So this was all about filter data. Moving on to report settings. Now in report settings, you have a bunch of options. Now, as you can see, if I scroll down, you'll be able to see a world map. And in this world map, you'll be able to see the countries from where you have collected the respondents. Those countries will be highlighted. Now, I have all my respondents from India, so only this particular country is highlighted. So if I go into report settings, the first option I have is select map. So you can select map. Right now I have selected the map of the entire world. You can select it for Europe, US, Canada. If you keep it on none, no map will appear in your dashboard. Second, we have a couple of report settings right here. I'll quickly go through all these settings. Now, if you enable word cloud, and if you have open-ended questions in your survey, and if you enable this particular word cloud option, you'll be able to see. Now, I hope you know what a word cloud is. If you have an open-ended question, and if a particular text has been used most of the times, that particular text will appear in a larger font as compared to the rest of the alphabets or rest of the text, right? So you can enable or disable word cloud if you have an open-ended question in your survey. You can enable or disable time series. So if you enable time series, you'll be able to see how people have responded to your survey over time. So let me enable it and show it to you how it looks like. Okay, now I've enabled time series. I really hope I'm not going too fast. If you think I'm going on too fast, you can simply let me know and I'll slow down. So as you can see, you can see the time series right here. The you can see how people have responded to your survey over time. Right now, this was about time series. Moving on. Yeah, so I'll quickly go through all the report settings. Show device data. So this option has already been enabled. If you enable this option, you'll be able to see from which device, how many people have responded from a particular device. So if you have collected 100 respondents, you'll be able to see 30 people have responded from laptop or from an iPhone or an Android. You'll be able to see all the entire statistics. Now show statistics. This particular thing is participant statistics. You can see it right here. So that option is enabled. So I'll get to the participant statistics later. But if you enable it, you'll be able to see the participant statistics. Then we have display question numbers. So if you enable this particular option, you'll be able to see the question numbers as as the name suggests. Show statistical calculations. If you enable this option, you'll be able to see the statistical calculation for each question for the data that you've collected, like mean or standard deviation, and a couple of more calculations. Show charts. So if you enable this option, it has already been enabled. You'll be able to see the charts for each and every question. I'll just, after we are done covering the report settings, I'll show how the charts and the other data looks like. Simply we have show answer option data table. So answer data table, I'll show you where it is. This right here is the answer data table, and these right here are the charts. Right, so I've enabled this option, therefore I'm able to see the data table. Then we have show answer options with no data. Now for example, if you have a particular question which has no responses, and if you disable this option, that question will not appear in your dashboard. However, if you enable it, even though the question has no data, it will appear on the dashboard. Now, if you have roll up matrix data as well, include text questions. Now, if you have text questions in your survey, if you enable this option, it will be visible. Include presentation text questions. Now, I really hope that you have attended the part 1 webinar, because there we had discussed the presentation text questions as well. So you can enable or disable these options. And then question display, you can select particular questions, or you can go on all questions. So right now I want the data for all the questions. Then you have answer option display, and answer sort order as well. You can choose ascending or descending, and then you can save the settings. So these are a couple of report settings that we have. Moving on, title and logo. Now if you want your dashboard to look a little more personalized or customized, you can put a title and a logo as well. You can put the title right here, you can put up a summary, and you can choose an image, a logo as well. So let me choose a particular logo right here. Now I've chosen the logo of question, or an image of QuestionPro, I think. Yeah, so the logo appears right here. Now, so this was about title and logo. You can customize the theme as well. You can choose the color of the font, table text, table background, table highlight as well, and you can save changes. And then we have sharing options. Now, as I mentioned before, we have the report link available that you can share with your colleagues or fellow professors. Now, if you want to authenticate this or put up a password for this particular report link, you can simply, first of all, if you disable this option, as soon as, even if you distribute the survey link, the report link to a couple of professors or anyone else, as soon as they click on the link, they won't be able to access the dashboard if you have disabled report sharing. However, if you enable it, you can enable password as well. You can enter your password right here, and as soon as a person clicks on the report link, they'll be asked to enter this particular password. Right? Moving on, we have participant statistics. Now we have right here, we have the number of people who viewed your survey, started, completed, completion rate, dropouts, and time to complete. Now the number of the people who viewed the survey is the number of people who actually clicked on the link. The number of people who started, as the name suggests, is the number of people who started responding to the survey. 27 is the number of people who completed, completion rate, number of dropouts, and average time to complete. This, as I covered, is the map. And this right here is the device data, as we discussed in the report settings. And this is the time series. Now, as you can see, for each and every question, you'll get a chart. And below the chart, you'll get the data as well. And if you enable statistical calculations, you'll get the statistical calculations as well. Now, as you should remember that I've applied a filter. Let me reset the filter. Yeah, now no filter has been applied. And now one thing you should keep in mind is that these are standard questions. So the graphical representation of each question will not be the same. The graphical representation of advanced questions will be a little different. Let me scroll down and show it to you. So this is the word cloud, and since I had no data in my open-ended question, it has mentioned no data. If I scroll down, just a moment. Yeah, right here. For example, this particular question is a matrix table question. So for a matrix table question, this is the chart that will appear. A spider chart will appear in front of you, and this will help you to analyze your data in a much better manner. And similarly, the chart for a net promoter score question also have, I guess, yeah. So this is the net promoter score question. So the graphical representation of such questions, advanced questions, is a little bit different to help you analyze the results in a better manner. Also, If you want to change the chart type, you can do it from right here. You can change it to a column or a bar or a line graph. You also have a certain downloading options for this particular question. You have all these settings in every question, and you also have a sharing option. If you click on this particular setting, it will show you the mean, standard deviation, and standard error. All these calculations you can get in the configure reporting option. Also, you'll be able to customize mean calculations right here. From right here, you'll be able to customize the mean calculations. You'll be able to customize inverse scale and customize the scaling as well. All right, so if you are looking for all these options, we do have all these options, and you can customize your calculations accordingly. Now, this was all about the dashboard. Moving on to participant statistics. Now, this is the a little detailed participant statistics. First of all, you can see viewed, started, completed, completion rate. Terminated via branching is the if you have set up a branching logic in your survey, the branching logic that we discussed in the part 2 webinar, if you have applied that logic and a couple of respondents have been terminated because of that logic, the number will appear right here. Now, one really amazing thing about the participant statistic report is that you will be able to do a dropout analysis as well. Now, if people have deliberately dropped out on on a set of questions, you'll be able to see how many people have dropped out from which particular question. So as you can see, for this question, 2 people have dropped out, and for this particular question, 3 people have dropped out, right? So you can do a dropout analysis as well. Moving on to infographic. Now, infographic report is more or less like the dashboard. It's just that dashboard will show you a graphical representation as well as the data that has been collected for that particular question. However, infographic report is a pictorial representation of the data that has been collected. So this is a very pretty looking report, and you have this link as well that you can share. You also have downloading options. You can download it in PDF, and you can customize this as well. So this was about infographic report. Moving on to advanced reporting options. Now, in advanced reporting, the first one you have is cross tabulation. Now, if you want to compare 2 questions, the data that has been collected for 2 questions, you can choose a pivot question and you can choose a filter question. And if you download this cross tabulation report, you'll get one graph with which will give you the comparison for the data that has been collected for those 2 questions. Right, so let me show you how it looks like. I'll choose a pivot question and I'll choose a filter question. All right, so I have chosen a pivot question and a filter question, and you have these 2 output options right here, Excel or HTML. Now, if I choose, let me show you HTML as HTML first. Click on create online cross tab, and you can see right here the comparison for the 2 questions appears right in front of you, and a couple of calculations as well. Right, now similar report. Now this right here is the pivot question and this right here is the filter question. Similarly, you can download it for Excel as well. Let me download this for you and I'll show you how it looks like. I'll open this Excel file. All right, give me a minute. Let me, yeah. So this right here is the comparison graph, and this right here is the cross tab report. For the filter question, this is the filter question, and this is the pivot question, and this is the filter question. So you can see a comparison or cross tab report right here. So this is how you run a cross tab report. Basically, if you want to compare the data for 2 questions, you have cross tabulation report to do that. Second option we have is data segmentation. Now, data segmentation is if you want to segment your data, if you want to put a couple of filters and segment your data, you can do that using data segmentation report. As you can see, by default, you have been provided with three filters. First one is started but not completed, completed, terminated via branching. So if you want to filter your report based on the basis of these three filters, you can do that from right here. You can go on reporting options. If you go on the reporting options for completed, for example, if you click on dashboard, you'll get a report only for the people who completed your survey. Similarly, you can create a new filter as well. Now, this is similar to the filter data feature that we had in dashboard. I guess this is a little more detailed. So you can name your filter. Let me name it test for now. You can put a survey status as well, and you can filter your data based on survey questions, based on response data range. So for example, if I only want the data for the people, for the respondents who have responded in the month of July and August, so I'll start that in starting from option I'll put 1 July, and in up to option I'll put 31st August. So the data that that I will achieve, that I will receive, will only be of the respondents who have responded in that particular date range. Also, you have system variable and geolocation. You can also filter the data based on custom variables or geolocation. So this is all about data segmentation. Moving on to survey comparison. All right. Now, survey comparison, as the name suggests, if you want to compare the data of two surveys, provided that the format of the surveys is exactly the same, you can do that using survey comparison. So for example, right now we are on website satisfaction survey, and if I want to compare this particular survey with another survey, I can simply go on new data comparison report, and I can choose, I can name the comparison report, I can choose. So right now I am on website satisfaction, but unfortunately I don't have a survey that has the same format as website satisfaction, so I cannot show you how the report looks like, but this is how it's done. You can simply choose a survey, you can click on save comparison report, and you'll be able to, after that, I guess there'll be one more step, and you'll be able to download the comparison report of those two surveys, right? Moving on, we have trend analysis. Now, in trend analysis, this particular report, it's a way to see how your survey is going about, and if you want to see how people have responded in a particular span of time. So for example, if your survey was active for an entire for 1 year, and you want to see how people responded, what are the kind of responses that you got during the span of that 1 year, or maybe you can choose 2 months or 2-3 months from right here. You can choose a start date and end date, and you'll be able to see a trend report. So let me show how the trend report looks like. For example, I don't remember in what months I got the responses for this particular survey. So randomly, I'll select 1 month from 1st of April to 31st of April. To 30th of April, sorry. And you can choose the frequency as well, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and you can simply download trend report. Yes, here it is. So basically, if you want to see the trend of the responses that you've collected, you can run a trend report. Now, unfortunately, I did not receive any data in the month of April, but you can see the weeks right here in the month of April, and you will be able to see the trend report for separate for all the questions that you have in your survey. So this is how the trend report looks like. You can see the trend report, the survey name right here, the start and the end date, and the frequency as well. Moving on to trend dashboard. Now in trend dashboard, if you run this report, simply you'll be able to see the trend right here. So you'll be able to see the trend report on the dashboard. Moving on to correlation analysis. Just a moment, guys. All right. So in correlation analysis, basically, if you want to run a correlation analysis between two questions, you can select the questions from right here. You have these options. I've already selected two questions. You can choose the first question and the second question, whichever you want, and you can simply you can also correlate all questions if you enable this option, and you can simply generate the correlation report. And what will happen is the software will automatically calculate the correlation coefficient, so you don't have to go through the entire procedure. You can simply choose the questions and you can generate the report, and the calculation will be done. The formula will be applied by the software, and the calculation will also be done by the software itself. Now, the next report we have is weighing and balancing. Now, for this particular report, let me give you a simple example. If you have a business of, for example, men's clothing, and you feel the particular survey, and you have distributed the survey to a bunch of people, a number of people, for example, 1,000 respondents. But since your business is of men's clothing, you want the responses from males mostly. You want to give weightage to the male respondents. But unfortunately, you've distributed the survey to a number of people and you've collected data from 50% males and 50% females. And now you've collected the data, but you want to give more weightage to the male respondents. So what you can do is you can set up a weight from right here. So I don't have a gender question, according to my example, but simply let me click on this particular setup weight option and assume this is the gender question. Yes is males and no is females. I will give 80% weightage to the males and 20% to the females. All right, and I can save the weights, update or save the weights, and I'll download the Excel report. Let me show you how it looks like. Now, in this particular report, this report that you're looking at is biased. So this report has given more weightage to the male respondents and less weightage to the female respondents, right? So you can do that as well. You have weighing and balancing reporting option right here. So this was all about the advanced reports. Moving on to conjoint analysis. Now, in the part one webinar, we had discussed that we have and conjoint question and max diff question in our question types. So if you use that particular question, this is where you can do the analysis. Unfortunately, I don't have a conjoint question in my survey, so I won't be able to show you how the report looks like. But if you have a question in your survey, this is where you'll be able to see the reports. Moving on, we have open-ended question reports. So if you have open-ended questions in your survey, this is using open-ended text and text analysis. You'll be able to do the analysis of your open-ended questions. So if I click on open-ended text, yeah, so I don't have open-ended questions, but what will happen is if you go on open-ended text, all your responses, even if you have collected a 500 responses, you'll be able to see those 500 text responses right here. And similarly, you can do that using text analysis as well. And you have word cloud as well, as we discussed before, and as you must be aware what a word cloud is. If you have an open-ended question, and if people have chosen a particular or mentioned a particular text over and over again, the text which has mostly been used will appear in the largest font, and the relatively less used text will appear in a smaller font. Then we have heat map analysis. Now, again, if you had attended the part one webinar, we had discussed that we have a heat map question in our survey. Let me show you how it looks like. I'll simply click on this help file. If I scroll down, so this is how the question looks like. I did not have this question, so I'm using the help file in front of you. Please drag crop the area of interest on the image. Now you can use any particular image right here. If you are, for example, if I have used a particular image, I'll ask my respondents to choose or drag and crop the areas of their interests. Now when I analyze the reports, when I go to heat map analysis, the area which has been chosen most of the times will appear in a dark red color. Similarly, the area which has been chosen lesser number of times will appear orange or yellow, then green, then dark blue and blue. So this is how you'll be able to do an analysis of that particular image, that how many area, that what particular area has been chosen most of the times, right? So this was about heat map analysis. Going to customized reports. Now again, the report we've discussed in dashboard was the entire report. If you want to customize the report, you can do it from right here. Click on create new customized report. You can mention a title. You can report, you can choose any of these options. You can set up filters. You can choose an output type. Click on next. All right. I'll put a random name right here. You get an executive summary as well. You can edit it according to your choice. And I'll click on finish. Continue. Yes. So now the customized report has appeared in front of me, and I can download it in all these formats: Word, PowerPoint, Excel, PDF. Now, for example, if I download it on PowerPoint, the PowerPoint presentation will be, a PowerPoint presentation will be downloaded automatically. And what will happen is, in each PowerPoint slide, there'll be the chart for one particular question and the data for that particular question. So this is how you can download, you can customize your own report, and you can, sorry, you can download it as well on all these platforms. Moving on to consolidate report. Now in consolidate report, again, if you have two surveys and the format of those two surveys is exactly the same, and if you want to merge the data for those two surveys, so for example, right now we are on website satisfaction. Now if I have this particular survey and it has the same format as website satisfaction, I can run a consolidate report and I can merge the data for these two surveys. So you'll be able to receive a consolidated report. Right now, I think we are done with the reporting options of our software. I'll quickly, Tipti, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions coming in right now, Garima. But
All
I would
right.
like to urge the professors to please ask us your questions right away. For all the topics that Garima has covered till now, and we would very much like to answer them. Professor Nutan Nigre is asking us, can we have earlier videos as attachments? So, Professor Nutan, are you referring to the previous recorded webinars, or are you referring to probably if we could attach videos onto a particular survey? If you could please elaborate on your question.
You can write it in the chat box.
So, Garima, I believe till the time we have other questions coming on,
Right.
we can probably carry on with the session and we can take out, the rest of the questions later on.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I'll continue with the session. So we have discussed all the reporting options. We'll move on to manage data options. Now in manage data, the first option you have right here is raw data export. If you've collected all your responses and you want to download an Excel report of the entire data that you've collected, you can do that from right here. You have a couple of settings that you can enable and disable. First of all, you can choose an output file format, whether you want it in Excel or CSV. You have this option, include open-ended text data. So if you enable this, if you have open-ended questions in your survey and you enable this option, all those open-ended questions will appear in the raw data as well. Second we have is include raw data, and in include raw data we have these two options: display answer codes and display answer values. Now if you disable it, the raw data will not appear. I'll tell you what this raw data is. If you enable it, first is, now if you have a question that is gender and the options are male female, and you enable this option and you click on display answer codes, so what will happen is, instead of male female, 1 and 2 will appear. However, if you click on display answer values, male and female, these two texts will appear instead of 1 and 2. So you can enable or disable any of these options. Then you have display answer codes instead of text. If you enable this, then Instead of the entire question, only question 1 or question 2 will appear. However, if you disable it, only the entire text of the question will appear. Exclude content URLs. Now, as you're aware that in the question types we have upload file options, upload video, upload image options. So if you enable this option, the particular URL for that file or image or video will appear. However, if you disable it, the URLs will be excluded. Similarly, we have include geocode and additional info. Let me enable all these options. Yeah. So if you enable the include geocode feature, what will happen is all the geocode, the latitude or longitude or all those geocode and all those geocodes will appear in the Excel file. I'll download an Excel file and I'll show you how it looks like. But you can if you enable this, you'll be able to see all those geocode locations. Similarly, we have data filters. So in data filters, you can add a time range as well. So again, we have discussed this before. You can mention a date range. For example, if I want the raw data report for only 1 month, for only the month of July, I can choose a start date and an end date, and I can choose the response status as well: started but not completed, completed, terminated via branching, and I will download this report. And I'll be able to download the raw data export, and I'll show you how it looks like. Yes, just a minute. So right here you can see the survey name, username, the options that have been enabled, data filter, timestamp. If I go on, okay, let me enable the editing. If I go on overall statistics, you can see the participant statistics right here. And then I go on raw data, and I'll be able to see the response IDs of the responses that I've collected, IP address as well, timestamp, duplicate, time taken, sequence number, custom variables, email list, see country code. So if you enable the geolocation, country code and longitude, latitude, all these options will appear. And here are your questions and the answers. Right, so this is how your raw Excel report looks like, and it has the entire information. Right, now moving on, you can also download charts and analytics export. You can choose an output format. You can choose a template. So let me choose Word, for example. And similarly, I can set data filters, start date, end date, response status. I can choose filter questions as well. So for example, if I only want the chart and analytics export for a couple of questions, I can choose those questions. For now, I'll disable this option because I want the report for all the questions, and I will download it. And to remind you, I've chosen the Word report. Right. Let me show you how it looks like. Enable editing. So this right here, as you can see, in a Word file, you can see all the charts, analytics, and the related data as well. Right, so this is how the charts and analytics report looks like. Similarly, you can download it on PowerPoint and Excel. So this is the older version of PowerPoint. This is the new version of PowerPoint and Excel as well. Moving on. So the most important point is you can download it on SPSS as well. So if SPSS, if you use SPSS to analyze all your data, you can simply collect the data on QuestionPro, and you can download an SPSS report, and you can analyze your data. So you have similar features that we just discussed, the similar settings. You can enable or disable these settings, and you can download an SPSS report and you can analyze it. Right now, I don't have SPSS installed in my computer, so I won't be able to show you how it looks like, but it's pretty simple. You can download it and you'll be able to analyze your data. Next we have is SQL export data file. So now this software will, so if you want to export your data into the SQL on SQL platform, the software will generate.
Uh,
Yeah,
Karima, sorry to interrupt you. We
just tell me.
we have a question from Firdaus, ma'am. She is saying that outputs are not visible on the screen, neither on Excel or Word. So can you again show it? Can you just download an Excel file and show it to her how it looks like?
All right. Sure, sure, sure. I would love to do that. So I'll download this raw data export file onto Excel and I'll show it to you again. Yeah. So this is how the raw data report looks like. Can you please ask Professor Firdaus if she can see the Professor
Garima,
Firdaus?
Garima, I'm sorry to interrupt. No, we are not able to see your Excel file.
All
Please
right.
check with the sharing thing.
Yeah, so I am. You are able to see my screen, right? My Question Pro screen. Professor, just hold on for 1 second. So I hope you can see the Excel file right now. You can see it, right? Apologies, you have. I guess you were not able to see any of the reports till now. I'm so sorry. So let me show you. Let me give a conclusion again. So this is how the raw export looks like. You can see the survey name, username, the report, the settings that you've enabled or enabled, and report timestamp as well. This is the participant statistics right here and the raw data. So you can see the response IDs, IP address, timestamp, and a couple of more options. As I mentioned before, you'll be able to see country code, longitude, latitude, and these right here are the questions. So this is how the raw data export looks like on an Excel file. Then secondly, I downloaded the charts and analytics export. Let me quickly download it and show it to you again. You can see it, right? Yeah. So now I've downloaded the charts and analytics report onto Word, and this is how it will appear on every page. As you can see, you'll be able to see the graphical representation, and below the representation, you'll be able to see the data as well, and a couple of calculations as well. So similarly, you can download the charts and analytics export onto PowerPoint and Excel as well. And moving on, as I was talking about SPSS, if you have SPSS installed in your computer and if you use SPSS to analyze all your data, you can simply enable or disable all these settings. You can download it and you'll be able to view or analyze your data onto SPSS. Now, if you want to, next option we have is SQL export data file. If you want to export your data onto SQL, the QuestionPro software will generate a file that can readily be imported into the SQL database. All right, so this can also be done using the export option. Moving on, import. Now, if you have conducted a survey on this platform or any other platform and you have the downloaded report, the downloaded raw report for that survey, and you want to import that report onto the QuestionPro software, onto your current account, you can do that using this particular feature right here. You can simply go on sample Excel document. You'll have to follow a couple of instructions, and those responses, you'll have to mention the questions and answers as well. And what will happen is once you upload the data, all those question answers and responses will be imported onto your current QuestionPro account. So you can do that using this particular feature. Moving on to search. Now, search, as the name suggests, if you have an open-ended question in your survey and you want to look for a particular question or a particular response, you can simply enter a text and you will be able to, if you click on search database, you'll be able to search the responses related to that particular text. Moving on to responses. Just hold on. I guess there's some technical net issue. Yeah. So if I scroll down, you'll be able to see kind of an online Excel sheet. So the raw data export that we had downloaded, it included all these features. If you don't want to download the file, you can simply see the features right here. You'll be able to see response ID, IP address, and all these options. And also you have a couple of settings right here. You can, if for example you've collected 1,000 respondents and you want to see how one particular person has responded, you can simply write down the response ID for that person. If you search the database, you'll be able to see how that person has responded. So let me click on this response ID. Let me show you how it looks like. Yeah. So this is the report in for individually that one person, how that one person responded. You'll be able to see how this person responded to all your questions. And right now you can edit the response as well. As an admin, you can edit this response. We are right now on individual report. You can run a spotlight report as well. So if you run a spotlight report, you'll be able to see how this person responded in comparison to how others responded. You can send this particular report, response ID report, or via email to anyone, and you can print it as well. So this was all about the responses. Now to talk about scheduling. Now if you want to schedule your report, if you don't want to log in into a QuestionPro account again and again and download the raw data, weekly or daily or monthly, you can simply schedule the report. If I click on new auto schedule report, you can name it, you can enable or disable these settings that we've already discussed before. You can set up a frequency if you want the report daily, monthly, weekly. Set up a day, time, end date option, customize an email, and this report will be sent to you, depending on the frequency that you've set. So this was all about scheduling. Moving on to merge data. Now consolidate survey data. As we discussed in the reports, there was one option, consolidate reports. So you can, this one is similar to that one. If you want to consolidate the data for 2 questions or 2 surveys, you can simply do that from right here. If you have 2 surveys with the same format and you want to merge their data, the data that you've collected for those 2 surveys, you can do that from consolidate survey data. Right here you have this option of merge data. You can choose the questions and the surveys, and you'll be able to merge the data. Moving on to downloads. Now whatever you download, be it a report or anything that you download using your QuestionPro account, everything is visible right here. So if you downloaded something, you can find that file right here. And now to talk about the last option that we have is delete data. So if you want to clear all the responses, you can do that from right here. If you have, now for example, in this particular survey, I have test responses. So if you have collected your responses from all the people that you want, and now you want to delete the test responses, you can simply do that from right here. You have this option of clear responses. Now, one last option, I'm not sure if we have discussed mobile or not. Have we discussed mobile? Okay, we've discussed mobile already. So I think we've covered everything. And now, if you have any questions, you can raise all your questions and we'll be happy to answer them. All right, just a moment. All right, so we have a couple of professors here who have been regular in all the 3 webinars. So very quickly, we have finished the webinar on time, and very quickly, I would like to unmute the professors and have maybe a one-on-one short conversation on if they have any questions or how did they like the webinar. And also, if you, in the meantime, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask your questions in the question answer box, and we'll answer all those questions. So let me just unmute.
So, Garima, um,
Yes.
I'll try and unmute Professor Firdaus, Professor Nitin, and Professor Sonal Shri. These were quite a few number of professors who were, active throughout the three sessions. We would just want to take a quick feedback from you guys as to how you like the sessions. Were they helpful to you or not? And in case there is a scope of improvement from our end, how do you plan and how do you suggest on moving forward with us? So I'm trying to unmute Professor Firdaus. If you could just
Yes.
probably promote her to
Yeah,
panelist.
let me do that. Let me
Yeah.
do that. Yes. So I'm unmuting Professor Firdaus now.
Hi, Professor Firdaus.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon, Professor Firdaus.
Very happy that you have conducted these three webinars.
Yeah.
But overall, I really liked yesterday's webinar. Today we had major connectivity issues, and yesterday Tejas was preparing examples within his files. Today we got to hear a lot of like this is not available, that is not available. So it would have been better to sit a little more prepared in terms of some very
Right.
yes, so that we could actually really see what the training was talking about. But
Yes, yes,
otherwise,
yes, I understand.
really helpful, really timely, and I hope we can implement this. We're very happy with the support being given by Question Pro.
Sure, sure, Professor Firdaus. Yeah, thank you so much for your feedback. Anything else?
So, Professor Firdaus, like you were saying that you would like to view certain more examples from our end, containing to the report section. So, what we will do is probably after the webinars, like today is anyways the end of the third webinar, we will be rolling out the recordings of all the three webinars to all the registrants and attendees. We would also, if it is possible from our end, we will try and include certain help files and certain sample questionnaires which you guys can probably refer to later on and have them implemented while you guys are conducting certain tests in your campus. Will that be fine?
More than enough. Thank you so much. Really
uh,
appreciate the effort taken. Thank you.
all right, thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. uh where's the question? Right. So, Professor Firdaus, if you're able to hear me, you had a question: how long can a survey be accessible on Question Pro? So, like Karima showed, that we can, set in the active date and the inactive date to a particular survey. We can do that by going under the quota section, and you can probably choose in a date where till what time you want to, keep your survey active, and later on you can deactivate it. So, unless and until you do not deactivate a survey from your end, it will remain active.
No, I
I
actually meant data, not survey. I don't mean a running
Okay.
survey, but I mean data as a repository onto your database. How long can I access that data?
Right. So it will always be
So
there.
let's say I download, then I lose the
Yeah.
file. So can I come back and download again? Okay.
Right. Right. So you can download it again.
Yeah. So, ma'am, see, as far as your account is active with Question Pro, the data will remain into your account, right? And you can simply download it whenever you access the data. You can simply download it whenever you access the account. You can simply download it and keep it with you. If in case in the future, if it happens that you plan to deactivate the account, right, and you plan to delete the account, once the account is deleted, then within few hours, that is 24 hours of the time, once the account is deleted, the entire data from our data centers is deleted as well. So what we suggest is, as far as the account is active, the data will remain. But if you're planning to cancel your account, we suggest you to download all the data, all the raw data, keep it with you, and then you can cancel your account from there. So I believe I have answered your question here, ma'am.
Professor Firdaus? All right. Okay. Thank you, Professor Firdaus. I'm now going to unmute Professor Deepika.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, Professor Deepika.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Can you hear
Good
me?
evening. Yes, Professor, we can hear you. So yeah, do you have any further queries?
No, I just want to know that if I want to run this,
Yeah.
question through for, a bunch of 225 students where I conduct a MCQ test for them,
Yes.
is it possible for you guys to just, since we'll do this for the first time, to just provide us certain on-site help? Because I'm sure in my institute, there will be few of our professors who would want to do
Yeah.
this. So, is there
Okay.
a possibility?
Ma'am, help me with your college name.
Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune.
Okay, okay, yes, ma'am. So I'll do one thing regarding this. We'll get on a call with you later. Actually,
Yeah.
I am the assigned account manager for SIBM, and I'll definitely get
Okay.
back to you on this, and we'll help
Okay.
you out with it.
But kindly get back to me as soon as
Yes,
possible
yes.
because by September we end our semester and
Okay.
we still have our last evaluation to go.
Right,
So
right.
if it's done ASAP,
Yes,
it will
yes.
really be helpful.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll get back to you as soon as the webinar is over, and we'll help you out with it.
Thank you so much. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right. I'm now going to unmute Professor Kavita. Professor Kavita.
My contact again and again.
Hello, Professor Kavita.
Hello?
Yes, Professor Kavita, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, good
Yes,
afternoon,
Professor. Good
Garima.
afternoon, Professor. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Ma'am, do you have any further questions for us?
No, actually, I just wanted to know whether I can add my Kindle Fire to use this Question Pro app.
Yeah, ma'am, this is
Hello?
Tejas. I got your question. I saw it in the Q&A section. So, see, ma'am, as far as the devices are on the Android platform or iOS platform, right? We can have any devices added. But I believe for Kindle Fire, I'm not sure what the operating system is. I believe they have their own operating system. I'm not sure on this. But if the Kindle Fire is on Android or on iOS, then you
Okay.
can definitely add uh, a device key to your Kindle Fire and then access the service from there. So we have the mobile app is developed on Android platform and iOS, and that is why the limitation. But across all the Android devices and iOS
Oh,
devices, you can have it added to your question pro account.
right. Thank you so much.
All right.
All
Thank you,
right.
ma'am. Thank you for attending the webinar. Okay, I will now unmute Professor Nitin. Hello, Professor Nitin. Professor Nitin, can you hear me? Professor Nitin Zadpe. Okay, I don't think he's here with us.
Professor Nitin, we have received your query, and like you were saying, we will be sharing the recordings of the webinars with you guys as soon as possible. You should be receiving it by tomorrow itself, all the attendees and the registrants of the webinars. And in case you have certain other queries with us, please do write to your question pro account manager, and we will get back to you regarding all of them. We tried reaching you, but probably there is a certain audio connectivity at your a problem at your end, so which is why we won't be able to speak to you right away.
All right, yeah. So I think we don't have any further questions. All right, professors, thank you so much for joining us for all these three webinars. We'll definitely send you a recorded link for these webinars, and also as you must be aware that we are certifying professors who are using question pro for their research or for their assessments. So after this webinar, I hope these three sessions helped you out. First of all, after these webinars, if you have any queries, you can directly write to us on edu-india at questionpro.com. Make a note of this ID. It's edu-india at questionpro.com. And after this webinar, if you are conducting any other research or any assessment, you can simply write to us, mention your survey URL, and we'll be certifying you. We'll be sending your certificates to your college address. So make sure your fellow professors also get to know about this, and you can ask all of them to go ahead, conduct their researches, conduct their assessments, and send us the survey URL. We'll be verifying the URL and we'll be sharing the certificates with you. Thank you so much. I think this is it for the session. Thank you so much, everyone.